What's going on, guys? My name is John Morales, and welcome back to the In Vivo Strength channel. Today, the segment that I'm going to be covering isn't as traditional as I've been doing a lot of the segments where I educate a lot on exercise and what things we should do. This segment, I would like to call it Coach's Advice, right? If you were to talk to me, if you were to be talking to a coach, what things would I be recommended, but from a mental standpoint, okay? This is something advice that I would give my client, my trainers, my trainees, my athletes, anybody. So, a couple of pointers. Um, a lot of times we feel like sometimes things can become redundant. Even as a business owner, as a person that trains himself, I understand the discipline that comes with doing things over and over again. But I think sometimes we get hyper fixated on the little things, and those little things sometimes they don't have the dividends immediately. It's something that's going to pay off later. So I don't even like to focus on how much progress I'm going to have from 1 to 2 weeks. I like to let progress happen very organically. Let me explain to you. For example, when I'm working with athletes, a lot of times the things that I deal with athletes, and the most common thing is that athletes by nature are very competitive, right? So they want to compete in everything they do, and the sign of weakness is telling your coach that you're hurt or something bothers you. And this can be physically, emotionally, or mentally, right? You might be going through something. You might not want to disclose that with your coach because, hey, you don't want to seem soft, right? Or you don't want to elaborate on that. And I think sometimes it is appropriate, right? Depending on the setting, right? It's not like you're going to bring up some topic at an inappropriate time. But I think it is appropriate when the setting is right to express to your coach what's going on. And I think even if you need to speak to somebody, it's important because it's part of the process. It's part of your whole well-being, right? You think about how hard you push yourself and all the things that come with that. There also has to be a stimulus to calm down, right? And I like to explain to people that it's part of our whole well-being. It's in our preparation. So when I talk about the dividends and I talk about the things that pay off later, you have to be really disciplined with understanding that things take time. Now, everyone knows this, everyone hears this, but what does that really mean? What does it mean that things take time? Well, I'll put it like this. Do you feel that you've met the best version of yourself? Right? Do you feel like that person has been in your life before? Right? And I ask that in a deep question because I think that it's important for us to reflect and think, have I seen the best version of myself yet? Right? And a lot of times we associate the best version with the success version, not knowing that sometimes the best version is when you failed. How many times have you tried something, you failed, and you learned something out of that? And failure is part of that process. Failing is what allows you to have immediate feedback. And conditioning and training, they say there's a saying that says, you know, effort and pushing your limits makes a coward of us all, right? In true endurance training and true testament of working really hard to the point that you fatigue, right? Fatigue makes coward of us all. And I think that testament is true, right? I can abide by that. That's something I have felt and I have seen, right? When you're tired and you're not really putting up this mask of, oh, I'm giving out my best. I just feel like I don't have much left and now I'm in this mental reserve where I have to push a little bit more. It's really easy for those moments for you to be hard on yourself, right? When you feel like you don't got much left, this is when you start punching yourself and digging into yourself about things that don't really don't really matter, right? And this kind of comes to a moment where you start really thinking, what is bigger? What I'm going through right now or the reward on the end, right? And knowing that you might not ever see that reward. And I say that because think about it from an athlete's point of view. How many athletes would ideally be on a team to want to win a championship? A lot, right? A lot of athletes do that. There's a lot of teams and a lot of leagues. Not everyone makes it to the championship. If you fail on the season, does that make you a loser, right? Does that mean that the season was unsuccessful besides the fact that you might have played okay, right? You have to look at these things, right? Think about your effort. And I think that effort is a perception and gives us a really good understanding of how hard we worked. Sometimes we work hard just to hear somebody tell us something. I have clients that have lost a lot of weight and they don't feel good about themselves until somebody tells them, "Hey, you look better, man. You look like you've been doing something." This is when the gratification moment comes, right? Like, okay, people are telling me that, but now you're waiting on feedback. What if that feedback never happens, right? Like I've always said, you can't be your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time. So what is it that you're being to yourself? How are you being to yourself? Because when you think about success and you think about what success means, everyone has a different definition of success. I challenge you to ask people, and this is something I love to ask people, what is success to you? Right? Some people might think it's material, and that's okay, right? Being financially stable, and like not saying that it's not, but it might be, hey, having a lot of money in your 401k, whatever it is. Some people might think that success is, hey, having a business or that job position that you've always wanted or making X amount of money per year, right? Financially. Some other people associate success with the things they've done in the past, right? But how do we get to that point and then find success again? In my personal opinion, like I like to tell people, success is really the happiness that you have within yourself. How Because the interesting about, right, being happy is that, or being happy or being sad, is that those are two states. Those, if you think about it, like they're two states, and they're literally called states. They're called emotional states. And and if you think about those two states, you have access from one state to another really easy. And the more often you go to one side doesn't mean that you always have to be on that side. There's going to be times where you have to transfer on over and you go through a series of emotions, not just happy and sad, but there's a lot of emotions that come with it. And you have to do a great job at being able to get off the highway, go into those states that you feel, and then get back on the highway. And that highway is being neutral, really being understanding, having reflection with the things that you've done and understanding of where you're going. A lot of people lack motivation, and I hear this a lot. And I have people that ask me, like, John, man, I just don't know how to stay motivated. And the thing is that I tell them, I'm like, you're not going to stay motivated. I'm not going to lie. It's very difficult for you to stay motivated. How do we all stay motivated? Right? It's not motivation is also a state. So in that setting, you're going to get off the highway, you're going to be really motivated. Then you're going to get back on the highway, and if sad is the exit that you're going to go in through, you're going to go to the sad state, right? So you go in this constant on and off the highway, right? Reference. And it's to that point where you start thinking, okay, well, how do I find enjoyment in what I'm doing? And this is, again, a lot of people like to call it trusting the process, right? Running through the fire. And the fire is always burning, but it's part of it. Understanding that we as humans, us as people, have been conditioned, right, to always seek to want more. And I think that depending on your upbringing, depending on how you were brought up and what things you surrounded yourself when you were younger, this is the mindset you're going to have. Believe it or not, a lot of people have a problem with this, right? A problem with motivation. And I always link motivation to two things: either your direction or your intensity. And what do I mean by those two things? I always tell people, understand why you're not motivated. Being not motivated or not disciplined and not being on track, in my opinion, comes down to two things. You either aren't doing things They're challenging you and stimulating you. And that's intensity. This can be exercise, right? Maybe you're going to the gym, the routine is very redundant. You're not being stimulated. You're not finding joy in the things that you used to find joy in. That means you need more of a challenge, right? So that means that maybe you need to change up your workout routines. Maybe you need to talk to a coach. Maybe change your environment. Change the times that you've been working out. Maybe it's too daunting to work out at night. Try to find a time in the morning. Try to find a little bit more discipline. Challenge yourself to wake up earlier and go to sleep earlier. Right? So this is challenges, right? And this is intensity. And direction is the next thing. Direction meaning you don't know where to go. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't know how to lose weight. Losing weight is very hard to some people. Because how do you define losing weight? Is it body weight? Is it lean muscle mass that you're losing? Is it bone density that you're losing? What is it that you want to lose? Oh, I just want to lose fat. Okay, what kind of fat, right? Because there's different kinds of fat. There's belly fat, right? Where you call it your visceral fat, what you can see, your belly fat. Or you have, that was subcutaneous fat, or you have visceral fat. And this is visceral fat. It's the ones that you can't see. I know you guys see a lot of people with beer bellies, right? And that kind of fat is the fat that attaches to your organs and surrounds your organs and causes a lot more restriction, right? And this is more dangerous long-term visceral fat. So now you think about those two things, right? So it's defining what is that you need to do. So when I talk about direction, is where do you want to go? Right? What is it that you want to do? And I think it's important especially when someone starts working with you, anytime that anybody wants to work with me, I always say, what do you want to do? And I really mean this because this gives you the first thing that you should know is, I want to go somewhere with this. B is understanding you have someone to help you to get there. And direction is really important because sometimes if you don't have anything planned up, right? If your goal is just to lose weight, you have to understand it has to do a lot with your habits. What you're doing outside of the gym. The gym is just part of it. It takes 3,500 calories to burn 1 pound, right? So throughout a week, you have to understand calorie deficits. Are you going to put yourself in a position to lose that stubborn fat? If we're talking about realistically, what it would take for you to maybe lose a pound of fat by being a little bit more disciplined is walking 5 miles a day. What are you capable of walking 5 miles a day? And maybe you are walking 5 miles a day already. Maybe this means after work, you go for 2 extra miles. You walk another 2 miles. In fact, I just walked 2 miles. Okay. And it's, again, understanding those parameters. What's going on? What are you doing? Right? Because you got to look at the whole picture. What have you been doing? And a lot of times it goes back to understanding what you've done in the past, right? As a coach, I would always recommend look at the things that you've done, understand what kind of success you've had it, track things in order for you to understand how your body's responding to things. You don't know how your body responds to things. Now we have an issue because now I'm trying to help you out, but you don't know how to maneuver the car that you have, right? I'm telling you, look, I need you to go at this certain speed, and when I'm not there around or I'm not there to help you, you're going faster and slower and faster and slower when we're really supposed to be going at a certain speed. And sometimes you want to go faster because you think going faster gets you faster. I always tell people, if you're running on a treadmill real fast, it doesn't matter how fast you'll run or how long you run, you're still going to be at the same place. So understand that you shouldn't use that analogy of running on a treadmill thinking that you're going somewhere, right? So direction, intensity and direction, these two things are going to help you tremendously when it comes to being motivated. Understand that a lot of it is our habits, and some habits are things that we have to break from. It's conditioned in us. It's how we behave, right? It always comes down to a behavior problem. From a nutritional standpoint, when I've talked to nutritionists and I've had conversations with them, I'm like, what's the most difficult thing for you to get across to your clients? And they tell me it's behavior. It's what these people are doing when they seem to get to that very end where they feel like they need a little bit more calories or they want to have something sweet, they go for it, right? They go for it. They don't have that discipline, and discipline is majority of it. But it's not just the discipline; it's the whole context of how you're behaving on a day-to-day basis. I want to say that being mentally strong is a practice, right? It's a practice. I always talk about how things are practiced because we're talking about behavior, and this is how I like to look at things. Behavior. It always comes down to the behavior of things. How you behave with yourself, how you go about being habitual about certain things. So, for you to find success in things, you have to understand your intensity. You have to understand your direction with where you're trying to go with things. Not only that, I think it's very important that in order for you to get to these places, understanding what you've done and how you've done it, there's going to be a part of you that you need to get to know. I just want to share this experience with you guys. So I've been personal training, I've been coaching for past a decade now, and I've done a lot of exercise, different forms. I've tried a bunch of things, and I would say when I started training for my marathon training, I had never trained that much and ran that much. I would say that there was times where I would run so much where I didn't have anything else to think about. And those were challenging moments because where do I find motivation from? And it'll get to points where I'm like, why am I running? Like, why am I pushing myself so hard? And it wasn't about why am I pushing myself today? It's about you need to prepare your body for what you're about to do. You're about to run 26.2 miles. And that's what you need to prepare yourself for. You need to prepare yourself for November 3rd when that start time goes. You're going to meet somebody you've never met. And yes, I did meet that person. Mile 24, I got there. I've been running in New York. I was feeling great running in the cold. It was 42 degrees, but really felt like 38. I was running. I felt great. I was like, okay, my body's not giving up on me. And then mile 24, I start feeling like every breath felt like needles in my lungs. It was like every breath I'm breathing in hurt tremendously. And I'm like, I got to my point, and I'm like, I'm only 2 miles away, right? I'm only 2 miles away from my finish line. But in my mind, I'm like, why are you doing this? This hurts so bad, right? And I'm like thinking like I've never pushed myself to this point. I was running at that point. I was almost 4 hours in, right? So I'm like, okay, you can do this. Just keep going. I wasn't trying to look on the side because on the side I was seeing people like throw up. Some people were walking with poop, coming down their leg. So I was looking at that and I'm like, man, some people are really breaking physically. I'm not even there yet. I'm feeling this, but I can work through this, right? And then I started tapping into that more. Like this is the version of you haven't met, and I'm getting to be more comfortable with this person, and I'm giving that person the support that I needed, right? And it starts with what I did in the past, the preparation that I had, and a lot of it comes down to the preparation. How you feel about tomorrow, it's how you prepare today. You leave things lingering on, of course you're going to be anxious. If you have a couple of things that you need to address, not just financially, but if there's a couple of things that you need to address in terms of taking care of things, sending emails, sending text messages, and you haven't done that, you're going to feel anxious. If you miss out on your training sessions and you know you have something coming up, you're going to feel anxious, right? Anxiety comes and stems from leaving things undone, right? And depression is something else, right? You fall into regret and then that goes into other further things. But I won't tap into the depression part. I would just say that regret comes from doing things and not giving your best. I think that if I was to run that race and I had not trained for it and I was unsuccessful to finish because I didn't train for it, I'd be very regretful. For the time that I got 4 hours and 15 minutes. That was my first time ever running one. I didn't feel regretful like I could have ran faster, harder. I felt like I gave it my best. That was my best at that day. That's the best I could have done. I could have not done any better. I gave it my best. I don't walk with regret. I walk with regret if I feel that I don't give it my best and I still have a little bit left in the tank. And I think it takes some convincing, right? And some spiritual pulling for you to be able to go into that mindset and be able to tap into something that's bigger than you, stronger than you. You can tap into it, but you got to be willing. You can't go to those dark places without a flashlight that's going to guide you. You got to be able to really have something to prepare yourself. And those are the mental preparation notes, the mental preparation reps that you are capable of doing, but you need to practice, right? When I talk about practicing mental strength, it's that. When I talk about practicing mental strength, means waking up when your alarm goes off the first time. And I mean, I say this, and I hope that whoever's hearing this, understands what I mean. Waking up the first time. This doesn't mean that you snooze it. That behavior already starts piling up through the rest of the day. You're already telling yourself, no, I can do that later. All right. And I'm not one to be all about extremists with this way of thinking. I just think that if you're serious about it, then you're serious about it. If you're not serious about it, then okay, you're gonna be in the same place. I've always mentioned to people the reason why you're still in the same place is because you're not tired of it yet. And the reason why you haven't lost weight is because you're not tired of it yet. When you get tired and you get fatigued and you're really done with it, you're done with it. And you're ready for change. Right? You're willing to change. But until you're ready until you're willing, you're not gonna make that happen. It takes a lot of digging deep, seeking what makes you who you are, seeking and seeing, okay, I have flaws, but so does everyone else. And I need to work on these things. And that's how I'm going to make myself a better individual. And that's how I'm going to allow myself to grow. And these are the mindsets that not only a business owner needs to have, but everyone needs to have. When I'm working with my individuals and I'm working with my people, I can't stress enough how important this is. And this is what I apply to my training. I like to apply a lot of the psychological focus into what we do. I always ask, sometimes I'll have something written up on the board that I have programmed for them. I look at them and I'm like, do you feel like you could do another rep? I feel like I always psychologically play with those things. Do you feel like you could do another set? If you say no, then it's a no. I can't force that upon you, right? But sometimes you look deep and like, yeah, if you spot me, I think I can push a little bit more. I know you're fatigued, but there's a little bit more. Find that little bit more. If you want that little bit more, 1% every day throughout a whole year is 365%, right? It's incremental. And this is how you practice that. You practice mental strength like you practice everything else. You practice being positive, you become more positive. If you practice being more negative, then you'll become more negative. It's as simple as that. If you continue to talk about yourself in a certain manner, you allow for other people to see you in that way, right? So, guys, this segment, it's probably something to be honest, this is something I really like to talk about. It's really my natural way of being. I don't. I want this to make this channel educational. I want it to be something that people resonate with, but I also think that some people need some honesty sometimes, and I think that we don't get enough of that. So, yeah, we'll call it coaches talk or mental reps. I'll see what I call this video, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys have a great day, and let's have positivity. Incremental strength is small. It's not big. Okay, so